All right, we are back, chapter 1112, and finally, we survived the break, and I'm so happy. Okay, I have so many thoughts about this chapter. I'm so excited. Starting even with the cover stories. I know I don't talk about them very often because mostly I'm still reading them, I'm enjoying them, I'm really happy they're there, and we get these little glimpses of different parts of the world and what's going on and how they'll connect into the main story later. I just kind of like to talk about and focus on the main story here. But I love Yamato so very much. And listen, I did not like most of Wano. What I did like of Wano was Yamato. But what I hated specifically was like Odin choosing to leave his home, and it had. I'm not going to go into that right now, but that Yamato chose to stay with Momo to protect their home, and now they're going on this pilgrimage the way Odin had pilgrimaged around Wano before, and the idea that we're going to get more reveals and history and lore, and they'll learn more things, because they've read that book as well, Odin's journal, so they might be able to find with Onigashima, and maybe old Wano and the Pluton. Like, I want to know what they're going to discover. Kinemon's asking a favor of them, and I love Yamato, and to see him just like get to explore and follow in Odin's footsteps, but following his own path, because he chose to stay with Momo, where if he was really following in Odin's full footsteps, he would have left with the Straw Hats, the way that Odin did with Roger, but he recognized his responsibility and duty to protect his home, and because there's very strong people that only really he can really protect them from. I love Yamato, and I want to see what they're going to do and learn, and I'm excited. Then we get the opening chapter, and I was so excited for a minute there, and then I'm like, oh no, I'm just an idiot. But we have, Saints, the Venus guy, who's like turned into a horse, and he's charging through the battlefield, knocking out the pacifistas, targeting them more or less specifically. And he's my favorite of the Gorosei, if I can have a favorite of these people I hate more than anything, purely for aesthetic. But I got so excited because he had said, if Jewelry Bonnie escapes, it will be a disaster. You gave this 12-year-old child the power to destroy nations. And at first, past Jessica was excited, and it's just like, oh, are we going to get a confirmation that the Gorosei or somebody was doing experimentations to try to recreate Nika's devil fruit to go into like an ability that goes off into a side world where this person has their powers and was trying to get Nika's powers for their own? I'm convinced. I refuse to believe that's not what they were doing. Yeah, no. He was talking about Vegapunk and how he gave this 12-year-old child the power to command the pacifistas that have her father's face above everyone else, above the command of everyone else. And then I got angry because how dare you? How dare you be angry at Vegapunk, saying it was irresponsible for him to give a child that much power? You're trying to kill her. You've been after her most of her life. She has been traumatized. We've seen how much Vegapunk cared about Kuma, how much he cares about Bonnie, how much Bonnie means to Kuma, would sacrifice anything for her. The love of this child has surrounding her. Yes, protect her. You do not get to be angry about the power and the force, that the weapons that were given to her to protect her. Oh, you should have gave her a smaller, less powerful army, and then she wouldn't be as big of a threat. We wouldn't have to go after you. We're going after her anyway, and we need to give her all the strength and power that we can. We must protect Bonnie at all costs. So, random Gorosei, shut the hell up. I'm mad at you. Cut to Frankie punching a vice admiral in the face, and there's something about someone with a very long neck getting punched in the face and their head swinging all the way around that's just fantastic and hilarious. So that resolved most of my anger in that moment, because comedy, and I love Frankie. I love Frankie so very much. Bonnie also takes down someone. I don't think it's Doberman, and why hasn't Doberman been punched in the face recently? I would prefer if Doberman got punched in the face. He's still on my hit list for everything that happened with Marineford, saying he wanted Ace and Whitebeard's head on a stick to show their victory. I will never forgive that moment. And I didn't even mention it the last time that he showed up. He was talking about having to kill Bonnie because I was so angry about other things and happy about other things. I forgot to mention it when he showed up. I need Doberman to pay. More than I need most admirals to pay. Besides Magma Bastards, there's very few people that just anger me on sight more. We have the broadcast in transmission here, and they're still stalling for time, drinking their coffee. Seriously, it's the smartest men in the world. Just chilling around waiting for coffee to cool down. And he makes a comment about his tongue being like a cat's tongue and too sensitive to heat, so he's waiting for it to cool down. And I'm like, okay, is that a thing? So apparently that's actually a common phrase in Japan to describe people who don't like to eat hot things. They say you have a cat's tongue. So I thought there might have been a deeper meaning. Apparently it's just a very common phrase. I was seriously looking for a hidden code and message, like, okay, we're not really stalling for time. We're trying to get a code word signal out, and the code word is coffee, and heat means this, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, it's just a common phrase. I'm looking too much into this, okay? The month-long break has left me a little bit insane. All right, so the bird Gorosei has flown up to the top with York, and they're trying to find the broadcast snail to cancel this transmission here. And York is saying you can't just destroy the entire lab because there's fuel stuff, there's explosives, yada yada. We can't just destroy everything because A, there's no guarantee we'll even get the snail, and B, we're all gonna get blown sky high, and we'll also lose all this research. Plus, we don't want to incur or rack up any more sins. What the hell do you mean sins? Do you mean sins like heaven, hell, deciding where you're going? Are we talking underworld? Because yes, I want that. Pretty please, I beg of you. Is it some kind of science term, computers, technology? All I got is sine, cosine, and tangent, and I don't know how racking up trigonometry relates to that at all, so I'm going with the underworld, because it's me, and I want the underworld. I'm also wondering if it has to do with judgment. So maybe Vegapunk has created someone to be just and fair. We'll get to that at the end as well. But like, he broke off all the different parts of his brain into the satellites. And it's like wrath and gluttony and good and evil. Yeah, like I feel like to have another Vegapunk satellite that is judgment and who is holding Vegapunk accountable for the actions and things that he is creating. So you have someone that if they judge that you are morally racking up too many sins, they have the power to destroy you. That is kind of where I'm leaning with that one. But yes, I would prefer it have something to do with the underworld, but that doesn't make much sense for the story. We have my angel Stussy. I love her so much. And Kaku, who's in bubble jail. Like, I feel like they're going to wreck Egghead, and someone's going to roll up on the island to check for survivors. There's obviously going to be, like, none because Buster called. And then they're just going to find him in bubble jail and be like, how do we get you out of here? I feel like that's going to happen. My darling angel Stussy is staying behind, and it feels like she's sacrificing herself, and I'm thinking that Vegapunk has trusted her with whatever plan she has. Either, like, I'm like, is she the transponder snail? Is she what, like, in her clone form, have something that can broadcast the signal? Unlikely, because really it's just saying that she's there to lower the barrier when the time comes for the Sunny to get out of there. Most likely, and it's less crazy that he crossed snail DNA with the one from the Rocks Pirates when making Stussy. I feel like that did not happen. But I also feel like the transponder snail is like hiding in a coffee pot at this point. So who knows? I could be wrong. With the Vegaforce 1 giant robot down, obviously the Iron Giant here got to bring the Sunny the rest of the way because the Coupe de Burst is not going to let the Sunny travel as far as they need, so they need to move it closer to the water, but they don't know the Iron Giant is coming to help them. If it is coming to help them, we assume it's coming to help them. Who knows? It also doesn't know where it's to. It needs to hurry up and get here, because how is it not even mentioned this chapter? I need the Iron Giant to explain why it's here and do whatever it's going to do, because it's been brought up as a cliffhanger too many times. But Edison, God love my boy, says he is going to do whatever it takes to get the Sunny the rest of the way, jumps off a cliff, and explodes into the barrier, and saying, don't worry, I don't plan to die here. Like, calculations, 78% damage, so whatever his plan is going to help get the Sunny where it needs to be so they can get off this island, and everyone just gotta get to the Sunny. Robin's still injured, and no one has told me who hurt her, and I'm upset about that. The other Gorosei are wreaking havoc on the island. The sandworm looks awesome, but nothing tops the horse one, because by God, that is the most terrifying thing, like design and silhouette. I love it. Luffy in Gear 5 eventually, like, runs out of steam, reverts back to, like, the old man form, and I pray that this is not eating away at his life. I hope he's okay, because he gets tired very quickly, and then I don't like that he, like, everyone says he, like, reverts to an old man kind of looking for him, or too exhausted. I'm scared for my boy's health, but thankfully he gets some fermented shark that boosts his energy back up, but not enough to really get him back into gear 5, so he has to, was it gear 3 or something like that, to attack the boar Gorosei, and he uses the red hack. Don't get me wrong, I adore Gear 5. I love the Looney Tunes, Toon Force logic and power of it. It is wonderful. It is glorious. I love it. But nothing will ever beat the red hack punch, because it just reminds me of Ace, brotherly love, power, adore that attack. Comes down on the boar guy, and it does nothing. To the point it hurts Luffy. This pig's skin is too thick, too hard. Like, we've seen this attack on Kaido, and it can't get through the Gorosei. Obviously, can't get through the Gorosei. He's too powerful. But for it to hurt Luffy, I don't know how I feel about this, and I'm kind of scared for my boy. Cut to Bonnie, Frankie, and Atlas, who are, I think, with the other giants. And then, I think it's like Venus, the horse Gorosei, skeleton swordsman, standing in the mist like a demon with just his eyes glowing, that thing over his head. I'm just like, Oda is like, this is going to haunt my nightmares. It is gorgeous in its imagery. I love it. You have Chopper and Nami and Usopp, I think it is, up on the cliff with the Sunny, and the spider legs are coming up as Saturn is approaching them. And, like, I'm terrified for them. However, Usopp is going to get, like, a courage boost, power boost from the giants being here, and he's going to want to have to prove himself to be brave, and them giving him the courage to fight with everything he has. So one moment of courage, I feel that he can somehow knock Saturn off the cliff. Is he going to beat Saturn? No, but if he knocks him over the cliff into the barrier, it'll probably give them enough time to get away, so I'm excited for that. Now's when things get good, and of course it's like the last 2 panels leaving us on a cliffhanger. So Mars, who was the bird one, I think, goes into what we assume is going to be the broadcast room. We have a transponder snail, assuming that if we break this one, it cuts off the transmission. And he's just like, your luck has run out, Vegapunk. And he's walking down, and then all of a sudden he stops, shadow over the eyes, you hear gurgling noises, and he's staring at something. And I want to know what this is. So there's 1 minute left for the countdown timer. Before the message will be revealed, whatever it is. And presumably we're too late. He's going to stop it. Or is he? I got a little bit of Mars being the god of war and maybe craving violence and being like, okay, let's start a war. It's been 1,000 years since the 100-year void century thing. So let's have another one. That makes 0 sense whatsoever. So I can't see that actually happening. The most logical explanation for what he's staring at is like Vegapunk's brain in a jar, but I can't see that causing that look over his face. So I lean towards it's Vegapunk, and he's shocked to see him alive. And again, that's where that racking up sins comes. It's not actually Vegapunk. It is whatever Vegapunk made to keep himself in check, and it will like weigh your soul. Whether we go into that someone holding a scale and it's like your heart versus a feather, which is lighter, and your sins weigh it down, you go to hell, we can go to the underworld. Or you could just die. Maybe he made something so powerful, creating some kind of power source, because he has been researching that, he has been researching the Void Century, he might know what can injure and harm a Gorosei member, and created a weapon that can actually deal out pain to them and be a threat and hold people accountable, judge you by your sins. I can see something like that happening. I'm wondering if the frozen giant straw hats is somehow involved. Like DNA from that has been tested and recreated. Considering all the parallels with Sabri, for all I know, so in Sabri there have been the auction house when they were selling off the mermaid Kami, and we go to Fishman Islands, Mermaid Princess Crybaby Shirahoshi is the Poseidon. For all I know, we're going to have a connection with mermaids, and there's a mermaid in a jar, and it's related to the power of the Poseidon he's trying to replicate, because he wants a power source. Then there's a lot of, I feel like the look in Mars's face is a oh crap, we've underestimated this madman kind of look. What has he done? And I think it's a we've fallen into his trap, because there's so much for the opening of this arc with the holograms and things not being as they seem, because you go right through the monsters instead of fighting them. But then you had like that door, which was a hologram that allowed you to walk through it, but then you turn around and it's a solid door again. And they couldn't walk through it until they knew the truth that it was a hologram, so that's how they got through the first time. Like, there's something going on with things not being as they seem, and that theme of, oh my god, it was a trap. I feel like there gotta be something there. Maybe it's an alien. Maybe it's an alien in a jar. Why is there gurgling sounds? Dragon had been mentioned at the beginning of this arc, when Vegapunk was saying he was going to die. So, like, does Dragon have the actual broadcast snail? And the only reason he hadn't sent it out years ago is because he still had to wait for the trigger of Vegapunk's death, heart stopping, to allow the transmission to go through. Like, Dragon gotta be involved, right? Somehow. I have so many questions, so many questions. Please tell me what you think of this arc, and what do you think that we're going to see in the next chapter. Is the broadcast going to go through? Is the visuals going to be cut off, but the sound allowed to go through? I want this. I want the message, and I want to know what's going on. All right, talk to you later. Bye.